I don't want to say that we've won and that we've achieved a total victory, except we have, because we see for the second week running from the developers, hello and happy Thursday. Hello Victorians and happy Thursday. Today we will be doing a rundown of Dev Diary 119, which importantly, the significance of Dev Diary 119 for all of us here, Victoria 3 players, is that it is the second consecutive happy Thursday wishes that we've gotten from the developers. Other than that, we're also going to be covering a bunch of changes, a smorgasbord of changes, if you will, that are all kind of vanilla tweaks and little modifications that can come out as being kind of significant. Really enjoyed some of the changes in this Dev Diary, and so we're going to go through them today. Now, it has yet to be seen if we will get the sandwich. Everyone knows that for, happy salutations, you put them at the beginning and the end. We'll see if we get them at the end as well. Alex here, and it's my turn to bring you another exciting update on what's coming up with 1.7. This time I've been tasked with the I've been tasked with showing you a selection of certified cool TM, things that we are doing that didn't really fit in any other dev or in other dev diaries. And so this is more general changes. This will be a lot like the proverbial box of chocolates. You never know you're gonna get next. Everyone knows life is like a box of chocolates, in that it is delicious. Okay, continuing, we have the religion and cultural map modes. So for those of you who really like map modes, we will be getting updated map mode. Looking at it just very quick, you can see that the shade is going to be changing based on how universal the pop is, or how a percentage of the pop that's following that religion. The same is going to be true for culture, where it's going to get darker the deeper the majority is my understanding. In case you missed it, a few dev diaries ago we mentioned in passing that it was a happy Thursday, that we will have a new highly requested map mode that shows what religion and pops in different states follow. This new map mode functions similarly to the culture map mode you're already familiar with. Additionally, while implementing the religion map mode, we took the opportunity to upgrade both of these map modes so that they show if there is a significant cultural or religious minority in those states, aka shading. The way it works is that apart from the largest culture or religion, if a second culture's or religion relative population is above a certain threshold, we will blend the colors weighted by that relative population. Up to 3 cultures and religions can be represented in this way, although that might get a little bit confusing or blotchy. Each with separate thresholds for each of these map modes. These thresholds are completely moddable. If you just prefer the old look, you could easily revert back to it. Okay, so we will see a new map mode. National migration. This one's really big for Japan, specifically in the context of Hokkaido. Hokkaido is the perfect example of why national migration is kind of frustrating as it operates now. And the change is, for a long time, you have been talking about how it's awkward that your migration laws also prevent your pops from migrating inside your country, rather than only restricting when moving out. With 1.7, this will change. This is especially true because in 1.6, they made it so that nearly every unrecognized power starts out with closed borders, so there's no intranational migration for all these countries at game start, which can be a bit frustrating. Like with Qing, if you're running out of, or if you have room for peasants in one place and then unemployment in another, they can't just move to the other place and be peasants. But migration laws will no longer prevent pops from moving between states in your country. So this is inside of your country, national migration. It's no longer gated by your migration law. Instead, your migration laws will only prevent pops from moving out of your or into your country, be it through mass migrations or through regular migration from other countries within your market or power block. So this is going to be very, very big for countries that start off with closed borders and in particular want some migration to happen. It's going to be very, very nice for Qing because now Qing, you can take new world states. You don't have to open your borders and expose yourself to leaking pops through mass migrations, and instead your pops will flood to the new world because that will be part of your nation after you conquer some states there. And similarly, Japan will be able to make use of Hokkaido early on because Hokkaido should get a ton of migration, from its gold events. It doesn't have that much unused arable land, but you can really get a bunch of available jobs there just by exploiting the resources there, and it has really good mapping because it has every resource. It's the perfect, rainbow state. And so being able to utilize it early, even though you have closed borders, is going to be really nice. These are the 22 laws Japan starts with. And of course, they use Japan as the example because it's truly the best example. Closed borders and isolationism in particular make Japan a fairly unique country in how isolated they are, except for now everyone who's unrecognized pretty much has closed borders, because a lot of the strategies revolved around just getting these unrecognized powers in your market somehow and siphoning off pops from them once you hit multiculturalism. So they kind of put an end to that by making them all have closed borders. Now the biggest country with open borders is the Ottoman Empire, and getting them in your markets are usually pretty good. Previously, this meant that there's no interstate migration could happen, which severely limited your growth opportunities. Now, you can make use of Hokkaido. So this is, this in terms of playability and how nice it's going to feel to play Japan, this one is going to be huge. So going to be very, very excited to do a Japan run in 1.7, which is going to be exciting for all of you guys, because if I know there's one thing that you guys like, it's Japan content. Starting with 1.7 won't be a problem anymore. They're even showing, they're showing Tohoku. With closed borders, pops will be able to migrate between states. They should have clicked, Hokkaido's right there, my guy. You could click Hokkaido. Hokkaido's like literally the perfect example. Anyways. Coming up, also, we have Support and Guarantee Independence Pact, which is going to be nice. Support independence, guarantee independence. As you might imagine, this allows you to signal to a country that you will side with them in a potential war for their independence. Guarantee independence works essentially as a one-sided defense pact, letting you support a country that will be attacked. While support independence is for countries that are not currently independent. This is going to be so nice to use on countries like the Dutch East Indies and the East India Company, I think, as part of your strategy. Breaking up, which these will break apart as soon as they get released. But breaking up, for example, the Dutch East Indies is usually a pretty strong play pattern. Usually it's pretty useful because you can go for everyone there except for Java for really low infamy. They're really resource dense. In particular, they have a lot of sulfur. So this will be a strategy that's pretty strong. Also, if you wanted to be like themey in some ways, this might help. Signaling to, like, if you're trying to form Scandinavia, signaling to Finland that you're willing to release them would make sense. Stuff of this nature. Also, no. I was thinking maybe you release the U.S. territories or the native territories, but, well, actually, you could try and, if you can request guarantee independence, which this doesn't necessarily imply, this might make the American territories achievement easier. Anyways, one particularly cool aspect of this is that subjects can now support the independence of other subjects of the same overlord, potentially leading to a big war for joint independence, which I think this will actually be pretty cool for RP. If we're just like, we Canadian states will stand alone, or something like that, kind of like how the USA did earlier. 13 colonies standing together. Wait, a house united, something like that. Something. Okay, and we see support independence, and it's also getting improved relations by +1, which is, this is going to make this maybe a tool that you use to get good relations. And also, previously, if you've released the EIC, you have to fight them before, from the UK, you have to fight them before, anything happens, which is going to lead to bad relations. This, by contrast, along with being on the war at the same side as them, will lead to good relations when they're eventually released. And so there might be play patterns like trying to snake the EIC or the Dutch East Indies into your customs union. And I think if they're in your customs union, they might not get busted up. I'm not sure. If they do get busted up and they turn into Bengal, though, that's a bunch of free pops for you, because Bengal has open borders and they have a ton of pops. So must feel reassuring for Belgium to be guaranteed by Britain, France, and Prussia. You'll have to wonder what this will mean for the development of Europe. I'm sure it will last. I'm sure it won't. I'm sure that the France will always come for Belgium. They always do. In the middle of the night, they come for Belgium. Okay, next up is probably the biggest one. The biggest one we've seen. Someone told me that this was going to be a feature that a dev had mentioned it, and I thought they were trolling me, but apparently they weren't, and that's you can have multiple active wars. Now, you can't have multiple active play declarations, but another highly requested feature. This has been requested so much. This has been really dumb for really long. I am assuming this will cause weird front bugs. Unfortunately, unless they are resolving this. We've noticed in very recently in the mod Divergencies, for example, that getting active wars that share like the same front with multiple wars causes problems, and if multiple active wars leads you to having more fronts that you're sharing a same individual front with multiple wars, this will cause issues as far as I can tell. But I still am really happy that they're implementing this, because multiple wars has been, the inability to do multiple wars has been like long, just like an absolutely really frustrating feature that has like no basis in realism, and prevents you from doing things that are, you have a native uprising and you somehow get bricked from doing anything else. Like, this would stop a major European power, and it wouldn't. And also, this has been one of the things that makes doing a world conquest really hard, is that you start having a bunch of subjects, the subjects have revolutions, and eventually you just get bogged down in the revolutions and you can't declare your own wars. Now we can have multiple wars. For a long time, you've been asking for this. Hell yeah, we have. And truly, it's a happy Thursday. And now we are finally able to do it. In the current version of the game, you can't initiate a war if you have another war in progress. Simple. Starting at 1.7, you will be able to initiate as many simultaneous wars as you want. Kind of. There's the caveat. You still need to wait for each diplomatic play to progress to war before starting another one. So if you have a diplomatic play that is currently progressing and you are not at war, you cannot start another diplomatic play, is how I read this. My guess is they have to do this in this way to solve front spaghetti issues. This is not a sort of simulation for realism. I don't think that this is any means. And also the reason why they have denied multiple active wars is because the warfare system is difficult. It doesn't manage having multiple wars sharing the same fronts very well, is my understanding. But other than that, if you wish to wage war against the whole world, you are free to do so. Fantastic. So, 1.7, we might start doing world conquests. Because this is kind of what I've been waiting for doing world conquests without having multiple wars. World conquests are going to be incredibly tedious because of you have to make subjects, and then you have to, with those subjects, you have to make countries subjects, and then the subjects will have revs, and you just get bricked, and now you don't get bricked. This will also make the period of the game where you are colonizing really fast after getting malaria prevention less annoying or frustrating, with all the native uprisings popping up, and because and even like it's such a weird play pattern that you just have been it's often correct to back down to native uprisings, which is just insane to me, because it's going to brick a war potential. And so yeah, and then they're showing right here France is thinking they can take out Spain while already fighting Prussia. That's maybe not so bright. What year do you think think it is? 1808? Maybe it's time for another coalition. Paris is lovely this time of year. It do be like that sometimes. Okay. Next up is calling an ally now gives them a war goal of their choosing. Well, currently, in the current state of the game, it's not worth it to ever really make allies, because they often don't support you. It can kind of lead to problems. In a lot of spots, it ends up damaging relations because the alliance ends up breaking anyways, and so it makes them less consistent type of thing. And so maybe alliances are going to be useful going forward, but in particular, they're going to be useful if they call you into a war, because now you can get a war goal of your choosing, but from the perspective of calling an ally in, it's actually going to be annoying, because if you're subjugating someone that has two states maybe, and you call in your ally, first of all, you would call in your ally, but second of all, your ally might just randomly want to nab one of those states. Or if you are subjugating someone who has two states, let's say you're subjugating Belgium, and then the UK, Prussia, and Austria all side against you, and you're like, oh no, I can't do this anymore because you're playing Russia or something, and you call in France, and then France just demands Wallonia. That'll be awkward. So, but this is something you are aware of, when you call them in as an ally, when you make an alliance, this type of thing, that they will get to choose their war goals. But that's just an example of an instance where it will be not useful or it will be detrimental. But I think that this also makes sense, and also solves a problem of, in earlier patch in like 1.2 and 3, having an ally was useful. They would join every single play on your side, and you just never let them declare a play of their own, and they would just always be at war for you, and that was also strange. But in 1.7, calling an ally will now allow them to pick a war goal of their own. This is done through the regular add war goal interface, and adds it as a secondary demand. This war goal is subject to maneuvers limit, but doesn't cost maneuvers for the war leader. Okay, and so on the other side of it, the AI is not too warmongery, but if you can get an alliance specifically with like UK at the start of the game, I think this will actually be really useful, in that if they call you in, you can get a free war goal on Qing. Maybe that's a thing, but that's cool now. Next up, we have overlords can now side against their subjects during revolutions. Thank you. I'm sick and tired of having the communist revolution in my nation, and then having to defend capitalism in my subjects. Tired of having to support your subject in a revolution when they get into a communist phase, despite being a staunch defender of the sanctity of the free market. Are you tired of being are you tired of being an atheist state and having religious revolts? This product's for you. For the low, low price of waiting for patch 1.7, you can now side against your subjects whenever you want. This is going to be really nice. If you buy now, you'll get one free. That's an additional siding against your subjects, because they're all for free, and if it's free, it's for me. In 1.7, you'll be able to support the revolutionary side instead. Hooray! So now you can manipulate, to some degree, when your revs or when your subjects rev, you can manipulate what their new laws are going to be by just supporting the side you want to support. If you do, when the war breaks out, it will make the revolutionary country your subjects instead, and you can fight the war and go on as usual. Now, there's an asymmetry in revolutions, in that the revolution cannot tick the main country below 0 when the war stalls out, but the main country can tick the revolution below 0, so I assume that siding with the revolution will have a little bit of a risk, and you'll release the status quo, and by the status quo I mean the loud car outside, which everyone's afraid of, yeah. Of course, Norway's getting beaten up because the devs are in Sweden, and so this is what happens. See, look what I made you do, Norway. Now I have to fight Prussia, siding with the devout. Oh no! And so Sweden side with here, and now Prussia sided here. Foreign countries usually side with the status quo, and so you'll probably need to take that into account when deciding whether or not to swap sides, but you can probably swap sides last second. Okay. Next up, we have unidirectional truces, which is going to be really, really small. They just introduced the potential in here, but another requested feature is coming in 1.7 is support for unidirectional truces that prevents one side from starting fights with the other. I think this is more useful for modding. Unidirectional truces will, at least for now, only be applied to breaking a guarantee of independence, and after changing the autonomy of subjects. So the subjects can still deck you, even after, you change their autonomy, but you can't deck them. This seems pretty small, pretty niche, like it won't come into play, except for breaking this guarantee of independence type thing. If you're it'll prevent you from trying to protect a country just so you can nab them right after, because you have this truce. I think this makes sense. This is fair enough. But let us know if you have any suggestions for other cool places we could put it in. I can't think of any one right now, other than in particular in events or something like this. We promise not to take the Sudetenland. We take the Sudetenland. Oof. Well, that didn't last long. A good thing Europe is at peace and the rest, and wars are a thing of the past. Yeah, basically. the war to end all wars, was immediately followed by I think the highest casualty war in history. Although there are some other wars that are pretty up there. Okay, continue. Subject can turn against their overlord at high enough liberty desire. Fantastic. With the coming update, high enough liberty desire, a subject may offer to support your enemies in exchange for the support for their support in exchange for getting independence from you, or simply raising their subjects' autonomy. This is great. It has long been the case. EU4 kind of does an okay job handling this, but it's been the case that sometimes you get subjects that are more powerful than you, and they just like roll over and take it, and that shouldn't be the case. In particular, the EIC comes to mind as being very strong, and keeping the EIC on a short leash should feel difficult, and the fact that they can turn against you at high enough liberty desire is going to be great, especially if you are trying to blob expand super hard at really high infamy. This is another, sort of check against you, in that your subjects might start siding against you. When you run the infamy up to 1k, you will have a ton of negative relations with all your subjects as well. And so this can maybe make it so that even if you've subjugated, the German miners, Prussia and Austria, that they'll start siding against you in plays if you go high infamy, this type of thing. This will make maybe going for a world conquest more dynamic, but I think it's an excellent feature. And here's the economic feature a lot of people have been asking for, but it's also going to be, in my opinion, really frustrating in one particular case. I think overall it's probably good, but that's auto downsizing for privately owned buildings. Privately owned buildings that are not able to fill their their vacancies in 1.7 will in 1.7 start downsizing on their own under certain conditions. If it becomes relevant, a building issue a warning that intends to downsize in 12 months unless conditions get better. If it starts downsizing, it will remove levels one at a time until the number of employees matches its output and profit potentials. I don't know what one at a time means exactly, like one a week, one a month, one a year. I assume it's one a week, but this has some pretty big implications. So first of all, I think that this is great for the simulation, because this is what capitalism is, and when the building fails, it should get deleted. But this is going to change the metagame in a few ways. The first one that comes to mind is, they show the munition plants. This is actually going to be pretty annoying when it comes to military goods, because the amount of military goods you use fluctuates from time to time, and the fact that all your military buildings are going to delete down if you haven't been using the full brunt of your military for quite some time is actually kind of frustrating. And so because of this, I really wish that they would put in stockpiles, because I think that the state buying a steady supply of arms and just filling their stockpiles while they are at peace or relative peace, only fighting small countries, would be really nice. In particular, this is nasty for the conscript countries, so the countries that are dependent on conscript, that they will lose all the buildings that their private queue builds up during wartime that cost 800 construction. They take forever to build anyways. They come out, they get useful for a few months, and then they get deleted down later. Really going to be kind of a hemorrhaging and an inefficient thing. However, maybe this is a pretty good simulation. It's also going to change how good, so one of the reasons why wood is really good, is that when you overbuild it and then you transition to being efficient per worker, you don't really care too much that eventually those wood is going to be vacant, because it's going to provide available jobs, which is going to positively affect migration. If they delete down, this won't be the case anymore. And so, I think that overall that this is a realism thing. I wish they had made it so that with interventionism they didn't delete, or they didn't delete as quickly. I think that if anything is the case, maybe this makes interventionism a lot better, specifically for the case of the military equipment, but currently running a shortage of military equipment isn't really that bad, other than it makes military goods really expensive. Currently, you don't really get punished as hard as you ought to for not having the military goods, but this will be interesting. I think it's good for the simulation. I think that I wish we had stockpiles if downsizing is going to be a thing, and that we could just continuously buy arms for the purposes of maintaining a level of the military goods factories that is reasonable. But this is going to be, I think that overall this is going to be good. It's also going to be really frustrating if they don't fix the way the private queue interacts with electrical, though. Because currently, what it will do is it will sometimes identify that it should build in a state an electrical or power plant because the price there is sufficiently high. And then what it does is I think the way the internal game logic works is that it looks at the electricity building and then it looks at your entire market's electricity and sees how much of a shortage you have. And then using your entire market's electricity, not the local electricity, it decides how many power plants to build. This is how I think the game is thinking when it's deciding. But oftentimes you will be not even partially employed with like 3 power plants in a state, and it will randomly slap down another 25 power plants. And then obviously those won't be able to employ up, and they'll get downsized. And the reason it slaps down 25, by the way, is because it's building up to the infrastructure cap. If it starts auto-downsizing and then rebuilding power plants, I am going to tear my hair out. I'm gonna freak out. I'm gonna install mods that make electrical a national good again. I don't care if I'm shipping electricity from New York to Australia. The fact that eventually I am saved by the fact that no more electrical power plants can be built in this state because of it's built up to infrastructure cap is going to be threatened by a downsizing potentially. It's too much for my soul to bear. But anyways, that's just like, I really hope they fix the electricity thing. Maybe we'll see that in a changelog, that the AI behavior regarding building power plants is improved. Currently, it's one of the reasons I dread building power plants, because you just lose access to your private queue, basically, for a while, when the AI starts freaking out about that. Anyways, new character outfits, which is also fantastic. We've also added a few more character clothing options. In particular, I really like the late game military British-French outfits. We do see they look like kind of World War I-ish. We got the colonial hat. This guy is exactly how I imagine an innocent British lord in the 1800s going on their first field trip, love it, to the colonies would look like. Blimey, lads, they have us surrounded. Yeah, blimey indeed. This one, on the other hand, looks like he has some serious bad blood with someone, probably the Prussians. Yep, that's true. He does look he looks a little pressed, a little stressed, pressed, and depressed. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Also, look at this guy's style. I wouldn't want a hat like that. Yep. I would want a hat like that. Kind of. Where would the headphones go? Oh, can you imagine trying to wear headphones with a hat like that? I mean, I guess you would just wear them like this, huh? Or something. I guess that doesn't really work either. Okay, new companies. I am really excited about this. I love choosing between companies. I really enjoyed the more unique companies mod, playing around with that, which has like 400 companies. And we're going to receive here, I think, about 20 or so new companies in total. They are showing us 3, and they have a list of a bunch of other companies. Some of those will only be from Sphere of Influence. Some of them will be in the free update. The free update will look good. What looks like 6. The DLC will get what looks like was this 9 in addition to these. So 6 plus 9, 9, 6, 3. Damn, she's fine. Something. So it'll be 9 plus 6, so 19 companies total, including these 4 as well. But just taking a quick look at them, these companies don't look all that strong. We see extra land trade capacity. Overall, I actually don't know how strong a modifier I think that is. I think it's somewhat useful, but only having clothing and getting cotton plantation throughput is really not a lot. The electrical one, Arts Academy throughput, interesting. Railway building throughput is pretty good, but the electrical company in Lima is far, far better, where it's giving you 5% state construction efficiency. This one's in Korea, though, which people like are RPing in a little bit more, so like maybe if you're doing a Japan run or... excuse me. If you're doing a Japan run, or yeah, because you're taking Korea, or a Korea run or something like this. Maybe this is a company you end up actually using. Railway building throughput's generally pretty strong. And then we have the National Iranian Oil Company, which is giving you industrialist pop traction and extra loyalists from high legitimacy. And that's 10% loyalists from high legitimacy is actually a little bit stronger than a lot of the loyalist modifiers we see, I think. I think most of the modifiers we see are 5%. From actually, I don't know what share relativistically you're getting from increasing SOL most of the time versus high legitimacy, but I think this is the first time we've seen increased loyalists from high legitimacy rather than increasing SOL. So this is a little bit of an interesting one to see. I'm not sure how good it will be. Overall, these don't seem that good, but that's okay. You know, more selection and more options is better, especially if the companies are just slightly better than generic. It adds a lot of regional flavor. They don't need to be OP. They don't need to be companies that you go for just to do that. And then that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed the smorgasbord of assorted changes coming soon. Next week, Vika will be telling you more about modding in 1.7, which all this is very exciting, but they misspelled Happy Thursday in the outro. So we did get a Happy Thursday in the intro, which of course is fantastic. The second Happy Thursday in a row. It is a big Happy Thursday. It's big nice. But that's the only Happy Thursday we'll be getting today, except for this one. If you guys like my video, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, you know, do the YouTube algorithm thing. And other than that, have a Happy Thursday.